Today we continue our Advent devotions focusing on the carol O Come, Emmanuel. I'll link to a different music video from yesterday at the end of this one so that you can enjoy the carol from another perspective. The carol contains these words: O come, thou key of David, come and open wide our heavenly home. Make safe the way that leads on high and close the path to misery. In our house, my wife holds the key to the fridge. She decides what goes in, and most of the time she decides what comes out. Now, okay, our fridge doesn't really have a lock on it, but our two children certainly don't have unfettered access to its tasty contents. In English, to hold the key is to have control of something. So we can understand Jesus when he says, "Fear not, I'm the first and the last and the living one. I died, and behold, I'm alive forevermore, and I have the keys of death and Hades." That's Revelation 1. Jesus controls death and Hades. He decides who goes in and who comes out. But today we're looking at a verse that says Jesus is the key of David. Yesterday we discovered that reference to Jesus as the dayspring opened up a whole range of Old Testament prophecies about the branch that were fulfilled in him. Today's reference to Jesus as the key of David can be narrowed down to just one place in the Old Testament, Isaiah 22:22. God is speaking in that verse through his prophet, "And I will place on his shoulder," he says, "the key of the house of David. He shall open, and none shall shut, and he shall shut, and none shall open." Well, whose shoulder are we talking about? In context, the prophet Isaiah has just spoken a word of judgment to Judah's king Hezekiah's finance minister, or his steward, a man called Shebna. Shebna was evidently a wicked servant, and Isaiah tells him in unforgettable terms, "The Lord will roll you up tightly like a ball and hurl you away." In Shebna's place, the Lord promises to put a new man in charge, Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah. "I will clothe Eliakim," the Lord says, "with your robe," Shebna's robe, "and I will bind your sash on him. I'll commit your authority to his hand, and he shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and the house of Judah. And I'll place on his shoulder the key of the house of David. He shall open and none shall shut. He shall shut and none shall open." Now, we don't know much about Eliakim, although his name appears several times in the parallel accounts of King Hezekiah's reign in 2 Kings and Isaiah. But his name, Eliakim, means God will raise up. God raises up Eliakim for a purpose, to be the key holder. Now, houses do, of course, have keys. We lock them and we open them up again. But there's a play on words here based on the various biblical meanings of house, which can signify not just houses or palaces, but both a royal house, in the sense of a dynasty, and the temple in Jerusalem, God's house. There was apparently a literal key for the house of God, the temple in David's city, for which the Levites had responsibility. But here, Isaiah is talking about a metaphorical key, a key for David's dynastic house. Eliakim doesn't just have this key for safekeeping. God places it on his shoulder. That's a metaphor for the responsibility of rule. A similar metaphor is found in the messianic prophecy of Isaiah 9. The government shall be upon his shoulder. The authority given to Eliakim over David's house here is absolute and binding. In the context of God's promises to David and his house in the Old Testament, God's people and subsequent generations looked forward to a servant in God's house, a son of David's house, to whom this binding authority, benevolent power, would be given. The prophecy is picked up in the New Testament, where it's applied to Jesus Christ, in Revelation 3 verse 7. There, Jesus is introduced as the one, the Holy One, the true one, who has the key of David, who opens and no one will shut, who shuts and no one opens. And in the following verse, Jesus himself speaks to the church in Philadelphia. "I set before you an open door," he says, "which no one is able to shut." The emphatic promise of John 3:16 rings in our ears. "Whoever believes in him shall not perish." As the servant counted worthy of more glory than Moses, than Eliakim, or than any earthly minister, Jesus Christ is faithful, not merely as a servant, but faithful over God's house as a son. As the King of glory, Jesus Christ has entered into the royal city through the everlasting doors. As the true and better Eliakim, God has raised him up. And as the keyholder and steward of God's house, he has opened the door for his people. With binding authority, he has made the way to heaven open and shut the way to hell for his people. With benevolent power, he's humbled himself by becoming man, Emmanuel, for us and our salvation, to live, to die, and to rise again for his own. Rejoice. O come, thou key of David. Come and open wide our heavenly home, make safe the way that leads on high, and close the path to misery.